Hello guys, and welcome to a new Still Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Corbeau versus Gallo in round 2 of the 3rd Asia Pacific tournament. So you may be wondering why you haven't seen either of these players yet, and it is round 2. Well, both of them received buys through round 1. Gallo because he did well in the previous tournament, and Corbeau because his opponent didn't turn up. So we're going to be seeing how these two face off against each other in this game today. This is Carpiquet, and on the Allied side, Corbeau is going to be bringing out the 3rd Canadian, and on the Axis side we have the 9th Panzer. So this is an interesting matchup for sure. There are a few powerful units that we can talk about. On the Allied side, of course, it is the Ram 2, and it looks like Corbeau is going to be placing one at the very start of the game here. It does have that 12 front armor with 11 AP, very powerful against other tanks in Phase A. However, Gallo does have access to the Marder 3, and with its 13 AP power at 1200 meter range, has more than enough penetration at 1000 meter range to take on a Ram 2. However, at max range, that Ram 2 can bounce quite a lot of shots from a Marder 3, which is unlike other tanks the Allies can bring in Phase A. Gallo also going to be relying quite a lot on the Panzer IIs in this matchup, since Corbeau won't have too much to deal with that other than the Ram 2. So this Ram 2 is going to have to be played around quite a lot, and the second one can be brought in, but it does cost a lot to do so. So Corbeau's going to have to make sure he has Piats on hand, going to make sure that his command infantry is just as far forwards as his other rifles, because otherwise things could get ugly very quickly. However, the trouble with moving your command forwards with the rest of your infantry is that it does leave them vulnerable to being pinned down themselves and therefore be overrun by units that go for the surrenders. But definitely a lot of focus here being put by Corbeau into the town. It does make sense. He does have things like stormtroopers to accompany his rifles, and then he has rifle leaders, and he's also got these wasps that he's bringing in, which are really good for just destroying Panzergrenz early on. And assuming that's all that Gallo brings in, those could get run over pretty quickly by wasps. But it looks like Gallo well aware of what he's up against. He is going to be bringing along a Panzer 1C, which is a very good choice because it does have the 3 AP that allows him to deal with wasps and other carriers like the command carriers and the MMG carriers and so on. He has one unit of Panzergrenz and a command infantry, of course, to stop surrenders and also provide the extra veterancy, and an AT gun for the very bottom side to make sure that nothing is flanking him down there. There are some more troops. These are going to be deployed a bit further up. They're going to be unloading at position and fast moving down here. Gallo bringing his own Flampanzer into the fray. So just like Corbeau using his wasps, we are going to see a Flampanzer at the start here. One unit of Panzergrenz being sent to the bottom side of the airfield here to contest that for Gallo. Corbeau is going to be going for the rifle deployment a little bit further down, so they won't be clashing so much. However, Corbeau should be able to get to this hangar before Gallo, which would have given him an advantage, but that deployment's still perfectly okay. You can see Gallo unloading early there as he does see the convoy heading his way. Recce going to be unloaded onto the middle of the airfield, which is nice just to keep an eye on what's going on. And this Ram, I like how that's heading down to the bottom side of the airfield as opposed to the top. Up here though, the Panzer II looks going to rip to shreds those rifles very quickly indeed, and that could be a devastating blow. In the mid here, big engagement occurring. Gallo has lost his command infantry already, and those Panzergrenz getting pinned down is going to cause surrender, but the Flampanzer still causing a lot of damage. That could very easily turn things around. The rifle leader is pinned down. It's only a matter of time until these rifles are two, and they're going to surrender. Then he's going to be able to run down this command carrier. So although Corbeau managed to deal with both the command infantry and the Panzergrenz coming out of Gallo-Neal's Flampanzer really won the day on the top side of the town. On the bottom side, however, things completely in favour of Corbeau. He's pushed through with the wasps. His stormtroopers and rifles took a little bit of damage in the process, but straight on push through with Corbeau's forces here. This Flampanzer got itself surrounded pretty damn quick. He's going to be heading down to the bottom side, which I think is the correct thing to do. But it's going to be Wasp versus Flampanzer. That's going to be an interesting matchup if that occurs. Rifle's going to be engaging the Panzergrenz up here. I think Gallo-Neil needs to utilize this space on the top side sooner than later, since Corbeau is coming in hot on the bottom side. So Flampanzer once again going to be used. See the rifle leader. Can it get the Piet off and find the kill? No, it cannot. The Flampanzer is free to run over all of this infantry. That is just devastating here. But he won't be able to cause surrenders because he is behind enemy lines. But a flamethrower doesn't really need to surrender, as it can kill rifles just as quickly. Look at that. Rifle squad just getting decimated. Now he just needs to clean up these infantry further up, and then take out the Wasp and the command carrier, and that will allow him to break things back in his favour. Because currently Corbeau, yes, he has a lead here with the territory, but it is a very fragile one. There isn't any substance to this bottom side, and I'd very much like to see the ram here like fall back and down into the town to take care of this Flampanzer, but also just to cover these Wasps, because it's very likely that Gallo-Neil is going to be bringing in these Panzer II looks, and I love the response from Gallo-Neil. Definitely the units he needs right now. An explosive Phase A so far, though. I absolutely love it. It's really, really cool to see both players sort of breaking through on either side of the map, and both players still doing very well. It's just the disparity of territory went in favour of Corbeau early on. But that's not really necessarily going to last very long. Flampanzer versus Wasp. Which one's going to win? I kind of feel like the Flampanzer should, because it has this machine gun on it as well, which helps with forcing the Wasp to fall back. And yeah, with the help of the Flammenwerfer there, is going to do the job. So this half-track is now pushing very aggressively, probably wants to relieve this Pak 38 on the bottom side. Panzer II Lux is trying its best to hide on the top side here. There is no recon that's going to spot it for a little while, but it's only a matter of time until that Ram 2 can find a shot. This Ram 2 going to be trying to take out the 251. So double Ram now for Corbeau, which is going to allow him to possibly double team this Marder 3, especially with Gallo-Neil getting very aggressive with that. Honestly, Corbeau can just drive into the fire of that Marder 3. He doesn't need to worry too much. He could definitely just fast move, attack move towards it, have this Ram 2 engage at 1000 meter range, and as soon as he does, the 11 AP should be more than enough to start pinning that Marder 3 very quickly indeed. I'm not entirely sure I'm convinced about this placement though. That Ram 2 is going to be shooting at the Panzer II Lux, I guess. And it looks like the 251 managed to reconnect with his Pak 38, which is going to surround the Stormtroopers. So things very quickly switching back in favour of Gallo-Neil here as he brings up reinforcements. But with a Panzer II Lux going down there, that is not a very nice death or destruction of unit that Gallo-Neil would have liked to have seen. Obviously keeping as many of these Panzer II Lux alive as possible would be fantastic, because then he has the speed and maneuverability to kill more units. But this Ram 2 on the top side, I quite like that purchase, but I really want to see a double team from these two Ram 2s onto this Marder 3. Like, just drive through the fire and the flames, through that 1200 meter range engagement, and you'll be absolutely fine. In this case, it looks like Panzergrenz were trying to get into range with their Panzerfaust, not going to be quite able to. The machine gun from the Ram 2 going to be able to stop that from occurring. That Ram 2, though, does not want to get any closer, otherwise it will be in range of the Panzerfaust. This Flampanzer still driving about. The other one over here has been brought in as well. You can see that Flampanzer is going to bump into some rifles, take those out nice and easy. This Panzer II has found the command carrier here, and that should surely be destroyed shortly. These Flampanzers are doing work. I thought the Wasps would do work, but the Flampanzer's just been showing that they are the top trump in this case. Machine gun opening up alongside the Flammenwerfer. Like, the good thing about the Flampanzer is it doesn't have to face forwards in order to use it, whereas the Wasp needs to be facing the right direction. In this case, Ram 2 is going to be hit by the Panzergrenz here of Gallo-Neil. He's going to wait for that reload, he's going to jump back in the building, hopefully find the second shot onto the Ram to get the kill. Focke-Wulf 190, is it going to be able to finish off the Spitfire Mark 9? That Spitfire Mark 9 is very damaged, but is just about to get, manages to get out. Ram 2 now engaging Spear Troop on the top side. Not too much to worry about there. Ram 2 has been forced back by that bomber though, which is allowing the Ram 2 to now rush it down. Ram 2 in the mid is going to die to the Panzerfaust. The last Panzerfaust was needed in order to get the job done. And that leaves the mid very exposed to this Flampanzer. Flampanzer well on the way to help finish off these rifles and find himself a surrender there. These rifles have also been surrounded now, which is going to mean that they're going to lose all of the territory they held. So +1 well in favour of Gallo-Neal at this point, but if this Marder 3 falls on this top side, then there could be a large salient forming. Ram 2 going to be able to get a shot off, does bounce a shot in the front armour from the Marder 3. That Marder 3 does have decent penetration at this range. That's 16 AP versus 12 armor. But the suppression is just so much bigger from the Ram, and the track wheel destroy there is absolutely fantastic for Corbeau, as that will allow him over time to find that kill. Rifles are going to be trying to fall back in the mid, but Flampans are going to easily run those down. In the bottom side, the Flampans are still alive here. Looks like this rifle leader is trying to creep up with the Piat to take that out, and if he can, it may relieve a little bit of pressure. So ME109 G2 BR21 going to be used to pin down this Ram 2 and force it away from the Marder 3. That might allow this Marder 3 in the future to be fixed up if it gets smoked off or something. But it's just a matter of keeping this Ram 2 from killing it for now. And that Marder might even recover and then get its own back, honestly. As long as that Ram 2 remains in the 1,200 meter range, it's going to have plenty of chance to kill the Ram 2, and that's just turned things around. Really nice ME109 strike there has allowed the Marder 3 to find the engine destroyer onto the Ram 2 and surely the kill. Yes, indeed. So things have just gone from bad to worse now for Corbeau with the loss of the 2 Ram 2s. I feel like the mid one was very careless. He knew that the Panzergrenz was there, so why would you put them in range? But on this top side, a bit unlucky. ME109 coming in there at the right moment and allowing this Marder 3 to find the kill. Now, 6-pounder was brought in, does manage to finish off. The Panzer 2 looks there. We can see a half-track was killed by the rifle's grenade. But the Flampanzer is going to be able to finish off those rifles. Another 6-pounder has been brought into the centre, and honestly, Corbeau's defensive line here is looking very weak indeed. It's mostly just rifles and a couple of 6-pounders. If Gallo-Neal can find a way to neutralise these 6-pounders, then he is home free to just run down all of these reinforcements coming in, and possibly even getting to the spawn, because there would be nothing to stop him. So Flampanzer once again finding another unit of infantry. Just so much infantry gone down to flames in this game so far. It's absolutely brutal. And it's been a hell of a game. It really has. I really loved that play around the Marder 3 on the top side from Gallo-Neal. It was just perfect. Really well timed when the Marder 3 was under pressure and allowed him to turn that around completely. When the Ram 2 ideally should have found the kill. I felt like Corbeau was maybe a little bit greedy with how close he wanted to get it before he took the shot again, and that left Gallo-Neal enough time to purchase that Focke-Wulf, or not even the Focke-Wulf, the BF-109 that you know, turned things around up there. So Flampans are now going to be very aggressive here, going to be trying to pin down those rifles, but also looking for the 6-pounder kill on this bottom side. I can't believe that Pak 38 is spotting a 6-pounder. He's going to end up pinning down his own 6-pounder with those bombs, and that's going to allow the Flampanzer an easy kill. Not entirely sure that was the right choice there from Corbeau. But the Humber Mark 3 is going to be able to crew wound the Flampanzer, but the transmission damage still allowing that to move with the fallback, which is a bit odd. Definitely needs to be fixed if it hasn't been fixed already. It could have been fixed already, honestly, with the latest patch. I'm not entirely sure. But the Humber Mark 3 going to be opening up onto the Panzergrenführer. That's dropped off the recce. That's going to allow him to see what he's up against. This Humber, though, definitely the rock of this formation right now. If that goes down, then things could get very ugly for Corbeau very quickly. Spitfire is going to be strafing the speed troop on the top side. Rifles, though, are going to get pinned and surrendered. Another unit surrendered. Surrenders on both sides throughout this game are absolutely incredible. The thing is with the Canadians in this position is, like, especially at the start of the game, the rifle leaders need to be close to the rifles in order to stop the mass surrenders from occurring. But with both players being very greedy down this road, it meant that they were literally on top of each other, and that meant that both commands got taken out very quickly, allowing for the surrenders. So Flampanzer here, going to be trying to take out that rifle leader. That once again leaves things very open to surrender. The Humber Mark III has just been hit there by the Pak-38 shot that missed, but the 6-pounder going to stop that Flampanzer from fast moving down the road. We have 4 Wasps on the way. I'm not entirely sure that that is a good choice from Corbeau, but we'll have to wait and see. Flampanzer's trying to make some ground on this top side. Machine gun has opened up onto the 6-pounder, but the 6-pounder is going to find the kill. Humber Mark III has gone down to the Pak-38 now. But with the introduction of all of these Wasps, maybe they can make some ground. I don't feel like that was the right choice at all. Especially considering we're now in Phase B. The trouble is with Phase B for the Canadians is although their income's quite nice, they really lack powerful units. Because most of them come into Phase C. But at this point, I mean, even a Sexton at close range would be much better than these Wasps. I feel like, say the 2-star Sexton, you bring it in, you fast move up the road and use it as a direct fire support unit onto these Panzergrands. It can always also use the AP to kill off these half-tracks and so on. So that would be really nice. But with this Pak-38 actually pinned down on the bottom side here, these Wasps had a very good chance of just running over the defences of Gale O'Neill. With no AP really to stop these Wasps from making ground, that could become very deadly indeed. You can see Corbeau is focusing on the destruction of this Pak-38. Wasp does go down, but so does the Flampanzers, and wow, the surrender coming in there on one of the Panzergren squads. 258 is going to kill off another Wasp. This is just absolutely insane. I did not expect these 4 Wasps to do so well, but they've definitely forced back a lot of Gale O'Neill's infantry for now. Not so much surrenders in favour of Corbeau, but still a nice amount of damage done there. Now if that Wasp can kill off the 258, it's going to be free to clean up these infantry. We do see that there is 2 Focke-Wulf 190s flying about, engaging this Spitfire Mark IX at the moment. But looks like Corbeau's going to be relying on these Staghound AAs to keep that Spitfire alive, and he's going to be using a second Spitfire Mark IX to find the kill. Very, very nice reinforcements there from Corbeau, reacting to those double Focke-Wulfs and finding a kill onto one of them. Also the Spitfire Mark IX now coming in with a bombing strike onto the 251. Stops that from running down his rifles. This Wasp is making ground. And if he can manage to connect up with the Stormtroopers, that could get rid of this +2 that is currently in favour of Gale O'Neill. 1,070 points now in favour of Gale O'Neill as that ticks up. 7 minutes and 40 seconds until a victory for Gale O'Neill, but things are slowly but surely falling apart. Without any significant AT on this bottom side, a lot of these fire support units that Corbeau is deciding to use are being successful. For example, the Wasp Mark II, with the Pak-38 not being there to shoot them all, has managed to break through very convincingly. The Staghound AAs will make this 251 surrender. The 6-pounder in the mid has been doing a lot of work. These Staghound AAs are also perfect for pinning down infantry, or even this Pak-38 at close range. But we'll have to wait and see if that can come into effect. The thing is about this Staghound AA, it can fire on the move and might be able to do enough damage before this Pak-38 fires. Yep, indeed it will. So this half-track has been found. That's going to be blown up by the Wasp, and wow, how territory changes. +1 now in favour of Corbeau. This is absolutely crazy. I have never seen a game quite like it, where things have just swung backwards and forwards so much. I was convinced Gale O'Neill had this in the bag, but I feel like he got maybe a bit over-aggressive on the bottom side, but Corbeau just reacting with a really good and unorthodox units that I don't think Gallo-Neal necessarily expected, and it's really caught him out. So 6-pounder there will get taken out on this top side, and it looks like with the assistance of this 251, those rifles will also be killed off, which will maintain some territory for Gallo-Neal in this top side. But even with the +1 at this point, Allied victory in 22 minutes. So it's not over yet, it's far from it. Wasp Mark II going to be pinning down the SBW 263, and it seems like any reinforcements that Gallo-Neal is bringing in at the moment is just getting annihilated. Now we're deciding to turn it up a notch by the looks of things with the introduction of a Panzer IV-J on the side of Gallo-Neal. So much for the smaller fire support units, he's gone big. And so has Corbeau. He's going to be bringing in the Wolverine to challenge this airfield. I'm very surprised that these rifles haven't been surrendered yet. This 251 could very easily be used to find the pinning there. Spitfire though going to be brought in to help out. But look at these vehicles go. These forces have been completely surrounded, and the Wasp is still being very aggressive. I'm not entirely sure if that's a fantastic idea, especially with the Panzer Is coming down here. Maybe getting it into cover behind this tree line would have been a better idea. The Staghound also very vulnerable at the moment, even with the Focke-Wulf 190 coming in. Focke-Wulf 190 will get hit pretty hard by the AA, but the Panzer 1C is surely there to clean that up. So engine stall, it is falling back, surely only a matter of time until the Panzer 1Cs get that side shot and find the kill. Oh, look at them go. Good old Panzer 1s. So 251, going to be killing off those rifles on this top side. Staghound AA, going to be helping out though. And if there's a pin onto this 251, Gallo-Neal might find that that's surrendered sooner than later. But a large amount of reinforcements coming in from Gallo-Neal. And it's nice to see these Panzer 1Cs being used in reaction to the Staghound and Wasp spam, because they have the AP that can kill the Staghound AAs and the Wasps, whereas the Staghounds and AAs and Wasps can't really deal with the Panzer 1s very well. The Wasps can, at close range, take on Panzer 1Cs by making them fall back and surrendering them, but other than that, the Panzer 1C should find the kills. So at close range here, Panzer 1C probably going to do quite a lot of damage to these Staghound AAs if they're allowed to stay on target. Now the Wasp is on the way, and we do see actually a Wolverine heading to the bottom side of the airfield now. So double Wolverine, it looks like, from Corbeau, going to be trying to take on this Marder 3 that's finally been fixed up by an Opel Blitz munition. We do see that the rifles here are going to get surrounded shortly. But can this Panzer 1C kill off any of these Staghounds before it finds itself falling back? Because the 50 cals can still force the Panzer 1C back. And at the end of the day, the Panzer 1C only has 3 armor. So when it gets triple teamed by 50 cals, it's going to be a little bit scared and it's going to run away. This Panzer 1C, I can't believe that has not killed the Staghound AA yet. But we're still waiting on that. Some more Panzer 2 looks at this point would be fantastic, but not going to be the case. 2 more units of infantry coming in, accompanied by a 263. +1 still in favour of Corbeau. We can see that the Panzergrens here took out the Staghound AA, but the Marder 3 has gone down to the Wolverine. So that repair that this Opel Blitz munition did was basically for nothing, and that's more or less 50 points wasted for now, as he doesn't have any other units that really need resupplying. However, bailed out Panzer IV-J is another thing that Gallo-Neal does not want to see right now. Wolverine really doing a good job of picking up that Panzer IV-J kill. The trouble with the Panzer IV-J versus Wolverine is not only the range, but also the aim time. Because it's not a Panzer IV-H, it does have reduced aim time on those turrets, and that probably meant that engagement just fell well in favour of the Wolverine at range. So Panzer 1C again coming in. It looks like maybe one of them got killed off here. Or maybe not. But either way, 3 Staghound AAs, or even just 2, forcing that Panzer 1C back very quickly indeed. This is absolutely crazy. I've never known these Staghound AAs to be so effective in a game. I mean, I knew that the Staghound AAs were decent units, but the fact that they're taking on all of the armour that Gallo-Neil's throwing at them is quite amusing, to say the least. Spitfire Mark 9 going to be coming in to bomb and get rid of these Panzer Grenadiers. Might not kill them, but will cause them to be surrendered if the rifles run them down. On this bottom side, Wasp is doing a nice job actually of pinning the Panzer 1C here. You can see that it's going to have to force it to be on the move. Not necessarily going to get the kill because it's not open top, but under that much HE fire, eventually it will die, like you can see there. Now it looks like the Pioneers did manage to get off one of their grenades, which meant that the Wasp was killed off. And we can see with the introduction of this 251-17, as well as all of these half-tracks and the command vehicle here, starting to force back these Staghounds quite nicely. So one Staghound AA gone down there, Gallo-Neil getting very aggressive with this half-track. It's interesting to see how far that's deciding to go, when ideally he probably wanted to unload them close in order to allow the Panzergren to get the Panzerfaust kill. That would have been the most ideal way to go about that. Wolverines though going to be finding some speed troop in the mid, and these Pioneers now coming into play as they're trying to cut off reinforcements, but in the face of these rifles at close range and not in cover, those rifles might actually clean up the Pioneers quite nicely. So Pioneers dead down here, Staghound AA's being forced to run away from all of these half-tracks rushing him down. We do see that the Mod 3 here has had its engine destroyed. Wolverine did get the track wheel damage from the Panzer IV-H, I believe, previously, but Firefly and 2 Wolverines, I feel like that can overwhelm the armour on the top side. The half-tracks on the bottom, looks like they've been stemmed for now. One of them killed by the grenade, I believe, from this rifles. Panzer 1C going to be trying to take out these 2 Staghound AAs. Will that work? No, it will not, because the Panzer 1C is going to go down to the 50 cals. Panzer Grenadiers are going to be coming in with their Panzerfaust to try and kill off one of these Staghound AAs at least. But it's interesting to see Corbeau here, hot on the front line, bringing in supply to make sure these Staghound AAs can remain relevant. But if those Panzergrens get into that building, they're going to be finding a kill or two, unless the Wasps have something to say about it, of course, and burn down that building. So it's interesting to see these sort of big pushes of Wasps coming in. It's just something that Gallo-Neil has failed to deal with throughout the game so far, and bringing in a second wave here of Wasp Mark IIs is not something I ever expected to see in one of these competitive games, but has worked a treat in cleaning up all of those light armoured vehicles that Gallo-Neil is throwing Corbeau's way. So we're in a +3 in favour of Corbeau. What an absolute incredible game this has been. It's just swung backwards and forwards throughout and has kept even me on my toes in forms of my commentary, because there's just so much going on. But we can see that the 251-17 has been cleaned up, and the last of the Panzergrens here are sort of falling back. These guys have still managed to stay alive all this time, but ran out of machine gun ammunition, which doesn't mean that they're very good for taking out the 6-pounder, even if Gallo-Neil can actually see that, which I don't think he can because there's no recon. This 251 maybe getting just a little bit over aggressive now. I feel like that maybe has been Gallo-Neil's downfall. He didn't stabilize on the edge of the town, which would have probably been the best thing to do in order to stop any pushes or forced pushes coming out of Corbeau. But once again, Wasp 2 Staghound AA combo, not something that I've seen a lot of. We don't generally see the 3rd Canadian, so it's interesting to see these sort of strategies come out, and in this case it's worked a treat, like I said before. Tiger E has a lot of work to do up here, going to be taking on the Firefly as well as 2 Wolverines, and if Corbeau can time this right, well, things could go very badly for this Tiger. But it's really up to the Tiger to get those accurate shots, and that's one of them. Weapon jam onto the Wolverine does disable it. Mosquito though going to be coming in with the 4 15 HE bar bombs. Will that find the pin onto the Tiger E? If it does, Tiger E is likely to go down to the Firefly after that Wolverine. did end up getting killed just before those bombs landed. So very nice kill there from Gallo-Neal, but he's got a lot of work to do now in order to bring this back. And I kind of feel like it's gone a little bit too far this time. Those Panzergrenz being napalmed and forced to surrender. I don't think there's much coming back this time. Especially with all of these reinforcements coming in. They're just going to get wrecked by the Wasp Mark IIs and Staghound AAs. Now to me, I feel like Gallo-Neal maybe doesn't have enough Panzer IIs on his division, because they would have been really, really good for cleaning up these Staghound AAs and Wasps, as opposed to the Panzer Is. I see why he brought in so many Panzer Is. Like if he'd concentrated those as he pushed back, then that would have definitely cleaned up the Staghound AAs very quickly. However, he didn't. He kind of let them go in one by one, and the Staghound AAs with the 50 cals have enough suppression in order to force back those Panzer Cs. So that was something that occurred, and therefore gave Corbeau an advantage. If those were Panzer II looks, however, the 20mm autocannon is just very good at killing one armor targets like these Wasps, and very good at close range against the Staghound AAs. Now the thing is with Panzer Is they have 3 AP, but their max range is 600. So at like even, you know, 300 meter range or 400 meter range, they're only getting like 4 and 5 AP, which isn't really enough to kill a Staghound AA convincingly, and that's why they struggled so much. Whereas with the Panzer II looks at that range, they have 4 AP, but they have a max range of 800 meters, which means when they're targeting at like 400 meter range, like that engagement was here, or even less, I mean it was like 300 meter range, then a Panzer II looks at that range has like 8 HE or AP, or like even 9 AP, which is way more than enough to kill off the Staghound AAs. Now we do see the Panzer IV die up here. Spitfires are going to win the engagement against this Focke-Wulf, and that's going to be a 2-star Focke-Wulf, possibly shot down. However, it does get out in time. Land reinforcement on the bottom side has been captured by Corbeau, +5 territory lead in his favour. 35 seconds left on the clock. Can the Firefly clean up this Tiger? That remains to be seen. However, if that gets pinned down at this point with the Staghound AAs incoming, well, that could have been a surrender, but I don't think it's going to happen. Not with the Firefly dying. Tiger E picks up the kill, shows its dominance. It's here to stay. Cleans up the Wasp as well. Next Wasp going to go down. And that will actually relieve the capture on the bottom side, possibly. Well, maybe not as long as this command carrier stays alive. But what a crazy, crazy game. So, even from the start, things were very hectic. I think both players were being extremely aggressive, and in the end, it just fell in favour of Corbeau. I think Gallo-Neal needed to, especially after he lost all of his Panzer II looks, needed to sort of solidify his position in that town before he wanted to push any further. Like, giving himself time to get those Panzer IVs forwards would have been really good. And unfortunately, it seemed as though he got ahead of himself, kind of neglected the amount of AP he would need, and Corbeau found a way, which was insane. Staghound AAs and Wasp Mark IIs. Don't try this at home. So Corbeau there with the 3,020 kills to 1,950 losses. Fantastic job. Is going to send Gallo-Neal down to the lower bracket to face off against Metallic. And Corbeau's going to be moving on to the third round of the third Asia Pacific tournament. In terms of kills, you can see that these Ram 2s really didn't do as well as they should have. But taking out a couple of those Panzer II looks really actually made the difference in the early to mid game. Because without those Panzer II looks to counter things like the Staghound AAs and Wasps, like I mentioned already, things can get out of hand. And this Wasp Mark II really showing how much work it can do. Staghound AAs also coming in, paying themselves off very quickly. Those aren't very expensive. Like that Staghound AA killing off a Pak 38, that pays itself off. Staghound AA picking off 3 units there. I mean, that's like a 30 and a 35 point unit. So this Staghound paying itself off 3 times over with just a couple of infantry kills. This Wolverine came in hot and killed off the Marder 3, and this one killed off the Panzer IV J at range, which was nice. I did enjoy seeing those Wolverines come in and do so well. But that engagement on the top side where the Ram 2 was charging down the Marder 3 and the ME-109 came in with the rockets, that was just so well played from Gallo-Neal. It's just a shame that it didn't come to fruition for like a topside push for Gallo-Neal throughout the game. Firefly there, paying itself off with a couple of Panzer IV kills and the SDKFZ 7-1. So yeah, just cost efficiency across the board really, other than the Ram 2s for Corbeau, which really led to an overwhelming victory. Whereas for Gallo-Neal, it was all about this Flampanzer early on. If it wasn't for that Flampanzer, Gallo-Neal probably could have lost a lot earlier. But this Flampanzer just ran all over the place, surrendering rifles, killing off command carriers, killed off the Wasps. It was very, very insane. This one again, all these Flampanzers actually did very well. Let me see this Pak 38 killing off the Humber Mark 3 and the Wasp 2 eventually on the bottom side, but got itself pinned down, and that really meant that Gallo-Neal's defense struggled. And then from there on, you can see how every unit didn't really do particularly very well, other than this Tiger E, which did manage to stay alive towards the end of the game there. But that has left me out of breath, and I'm going to have to take a breather. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this game. It was insane, to say the least. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.